Hi, everyone. So, welcome to another episode of the Coaches Close Clients podcast. Today, we have the lovely Taylor Manning here with us, who is going to teach us everything about sales for coaches and share her awesome story of how she helps people really grow their businesses. So, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Awesome. So, to start off with, why don't you tell us a bit about your story, how you got started, and just share with us about how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, so I always try not to make this story too long, but basically when I was in college, just about to turn 19, it was like right before my 19th birthday, I discovered this, like all these different, honestly, here's what happened. I found a YouTube video that talked about making money online, and I tried all the things, literally. So I tried like taking surveys for money. I tried like online tutoring. There's like selling your clothes online, all these different things. And the thing I know, the
Wait,
thing
how
that
old are you now?
23.
Okay, I'm 22, which is like so funny and awesome. So
I
anyway,
love that.
go on.
Yeah, I love meeting other people that are like that same age, because that's one reason coaching was like scary, like being so young. But
Mhm.
the thing that stuck for me was freelancing. So my last couple years of school, I was doing online freelancing, and it's funny because then I marketed myself as a cheap college student, which a lot of companies and entrepreneurs saw as a benefit. Like, oh, she's young. She obviously is an expert at social media. So
Right.
I kind of did it like fake it till you make it style. And I literally, my first client I did for $7 an hour, less than minimum wage. So, moving into the coaching world, it was like, okay, big money mindset shifts with that. But anyway, I did that for a couple of years. And then I started getting some freelance clients that were coaches and course creators. And in this really cool world, I was just starting to learn about it. And I started realizing at the same time as well that my clients got a lot out of talking to me on the phone. So even, of course, I was doing things for them like scheduling their posts and creating email campaigns and stuff like that, but they really liked talking to me on the phone about their strategy and their ideas and big picture. So when I started hearing about the coaching world and having a couple clients that did that, I was like, I got it. Like, it's common sense, I have to do that because I can make way more money. I can save a lot more time. And I'm good at it. So why not? But I started coaching at 20. And that was like my biggest insecurity. Like, who's going to pay a 20-year-old? At the time, I charged $3,000 for 4 months. But it's like, who's going to pay a 20-year-old $3,000? And who's going to pay a 20-year-old at all to like talk to them on the phone and to be like consulted about their business? And I felt really, really crazy. But at the same time, I felt like it was just like a common sense, like I have to do this kind of thing, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's how I got started.
Awesome. And how did you grow? Like, what was that turning point that you were like, all right, I'm gonna like scale this up. Like I've been doing, I read somewhere you were doing like 10 clients at a time at one point, and like where did you kind of make those mindset shifts into like what you're doing now?
Yeah, I have so many stories. um, at first the biggest thing was like even signing clients at all, because I was hiding who I was. Like, I mean, we see this so much in the coaching world, like on all of the types of coaches you could be. But I was that like typical new business coach that was like trying to stand out, but was really just like blending in majorly, trying to be like everyone else because I was terrified of people finding out my age. Like, it was literally a secret. But once I got over that and I really started embracing who I was, which started with a friend being like, go tell the world your age. Like, not that you have to, but you need to, Taylor, because it's like your dirty little secret. So I shared with the whole world my age. I started talking about my life, my family, my personal life, like what really made me me. And that's when I started fully booking my business. So I think that was like a big shift for me, was just owning exactly who I was. Then the problem was I was undercharging still. And like you said, there was a time for maybe a couple of months where I had 12 clients at once.
Wow.
And some of those clients were doing 2 calls a week. Because like that's how much I was undercharging and over delivering. Was I had this 6-week package where you would do 2 calls a week with me. It was insane. So I was so busy. I would have like 5 or 6 calls every day. Because of course, like at the same time, you're trying to do sales calls and you're
Mhm.
talking to your coach if you have one. And you're talking to people, like you're meeting or doing interview, like anything you can, right? To like be in front of people. So that was rough. I was so busy. And with that came the next step of like, okay, I have to raise my prices, which then I jumped from that. I was either doing like 6 weeks for like 1,500, maybe up to 2,000 at one point, or 4 months for 3,000. And that's when I jumped to 4 months for 10,000. So it was a really big jump. It was like, okay, this has got to change, like drastically jumping to that, which was worth it.
Yeah. And like, how did you make that mindset shift? Like, how did you kind of overcome, because I know a lot of young people too are like, well, like, you know, maybe we should get some more experience before we really charge our worth.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, like, so how did you kind of work through those things?
Yeah. I mean, I do think that it helped that I had the experience, but then again, it's like, I had maybe 20 clients total ever, and some did amazing and some didn't, you know, that's always just the reality. But especially charging so low, you have to remember, like, now a lot of your clients aren't as committed to, I really do believe that. I saw that. So, but I do think like if you're just starting out, taking a couple clients for maybe a lower rate than you know you will in the next few months is totally fine. But yeah, it was like, okay, I have a lot of clients that are getting good results. But you know what the biggest thing was that I hope not everybody has to actually experience to realize, and why I preach this, is I actually lived through like burnout and hustle and realizing like there was a few moments where I was like, I'm not being the coach that like my clients actually deserve because I'm so busy. Like I remember like trying to like secretly eat on our calls, like eating almonds, like trying to like be quiet, like was there talking, you know what I mean? Like
I have done that. I have literally done that.
I was doing that like every single day and like, or just being so hungry. And like, there was moments where I hate even sharing this, but I love sharing it because it's just the truth. Like one, you get emails for your clients and you're like, I don't even want to look at this. Like, or times where I would look at my calendar and be like, I don't want to do any of these calls. And if I think about like, how would I feel if my coach reacted like that to me? That would be hurtful. And it would also be like, why am I paying you? Why are we doing this? So I just got to that point where I had to realize like, I'm not fully serving my clients and I'm hurting myself because I was so tired. I was dreaming about clients and calls and all, because I was just like constantly working that my brain literally never shut off. So I think really experiencing that, I realized like raising my rates wasn't just about, I'm going to charge 10K and live like a luxury life and be rich or whatever. It was like, if I really want a business that's like growing and that I can sustain and that's also giving really good service, like I have to raise my rates, you know?
Yeah. And okay, so let's talk about like how you structured your coaching in order to be able to do that. Because I know a lot of people, they start off doing like just the one-on-one program, like one-on-one 3-month, 6-month program. So did you kind of transition some people more into like a group coaching thing, or like how would you structure a coaching business so that it becomes more manageable in that kind of sense?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I mean, some people love coaching and private coaching. That's all they want to do. That's fine. But a lot of us are willing to expand and we actually enjoy other things. So for me, it was like limiting the private clients. My first step was like 5 or 6, and then it went down to 4 or 5. Now it's like 3 or 4, really limiting that. And then, yeah, very soon after that, a few months after that, I started launching my first few group programs, which is really huge because you could be making the same amount in a month that you make from 1 or 2 clients, just doing 1 hour of calls, or a few clients with just 1 hour of calls a week. You know what I mean? And like a little bit of content, and it's a lot of reusable stuff. So I think for a coaching business to be able to do a couple of clients, and then what most of my clients will do is either expand that into like a group program or a mastermind or a course, like a signature course. So it's like $1,000 or more, is really good. Something that is like, I can bring in a bulk of income without taking up a bulk of my calendar, you know?
Right.
And I think that justifies the high-end rate. It's not that you have to justify it, but it can make us feel better doing it because it's like, okay, not everybody can afford a $10,000 coach or is in the position to where they want to do that right now, whatever. But now I have other options. So I was even talking about this today with a client where it's like, no, I don't ever feel bad when somebody comes to me and says, I wish I could afford to work with you. Because that doesn't actually happen because there's so many ways to work with me now, you know?
Right.
There's different price points. So that's what I would say is the next move. And also in my coaching, I did like instead of a call. Well, you heard I did 2 calls a week. That was dumb. But so I replaced that with doing like Voxer and email and having boundaries with it. Like, okay, I respond once a day, Monday through Friday between these hours, you know? Or instead of doing even a call every week, I moved down to 3 calls a month, which was really cool because then I would have like at least 1 week a month where there was no client calls. And I'm an introvert, so for me that was huge because calls, while I love talking to my clients, take a lot of my energy. And coaching, I don't, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, coaching takes energy a lot.
Yeah. Awesome. And in that kind of vein of like structuring, are you a proponent of doing like launches, or are you more like have some signature course, like evergreen kind of system set up? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because I know that there's a lot of people in the coaching world that are on like one or the other kind of side. So what would you say to that?
I've done it all. Like I literally done it all in my business. And right now I still do it all. Like the big thing for me is that anything that you do can become draining and can become unaligned. Like I really believe in alignment. And I think a lot of the times it does not make sense. Like there's a lot of reasons why live launching could be the answer or why a funnel could be the answer. But I really think the answer is you. So like I have a passive evergreen webinar that I can use anytime I want, obviously. And what's crazy is when I'm in a really good energy with it and my mindset's right with it, and that's what I actually want to be focusing on, because even though it's evergreen and passive, it still takes focus. Trust me, it works really well. But whenever I kind of want to do something else or branch out or be more creative, it will literally stop working. So I have months where this funnel will convert at like 5%, meaning every 100 people that goes into it, 5 buy, which is really good. And then I'll have months where it's like, what is wrong with this thing? And it won't convert at all and nothing has changed. That's one reason I really believe in alignment. So right now, as you might have seen, I'm launching something right now, and I have something else I'm going to live launch because that's just what feels most fun. I think the biggest mistake that I have made so many times is hearing somebody say like, this is the way, and then like latching on to that and putting all my energy and like, this is going to be the way for me. And I'm like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Right. Okay. So transitioning a bit into this kind of like sales side of things, tell us a bit about like what like transparent sales means to you and kind of your approach to sales as a coach.
Yeah. So I call like my sales method or my sales teaching transparent sales because it never felt right for me to be doing like, I call them pushy sales strategies, like the things of like a lot of the things that are taught about objections and taking credit cards over the phone, or like closing the call while they're still on the phone, or things like that, or doing free sessions that are really sales calls. And it just never felt right. And I knew it wasn't fear because I was doing it. But every time I felt so icky. And I think the thing is that I want to explain, because I don't want anyone to get offended. I think there are people that are salespeople and they're good at that and it feels good to them and they understand why they're doing it. For me, it felt like totally like I'm desperate to get this client, so I need to convince them that their money fears are fake and they can't afford me and all this stuff. I just didn't like it. So now the way that it works in my business is it's just very transparent. I don't hide my prices. My prices are on my sales page. The only way you can get on the phone with me on a sales call is if you check the box that you can afford that exact price. The payment plans are clear. We don't do like crazy payment plans or special offers. The sales calls are always sales calls to buy the program. And the reason I like it is because I get to do a lot less sales calls than the sales calls that I do. Like it's like 80, 90 or more percent conversion, you know, because people are getting on the phone with me to work with me. They know that. And I hear all the time with people now where it's like, I'm ready to get started today. I just booked the call because I thought I had to, which is really awesome. And really just trusting people to make their own decision. And I don't think that this is the right strategy for absolutely everybody. But I think if people are listening that feel like, you know, the other strategies just don't feel right, they do feel pushy. And here's the big thing, especially with like my work. it's so important that my clients are making the decision themselves and fully trust me, so they really, really do the work. And I just found like almost every single person I signed on, like I did all kinds of stuff, like taking a deposit or like making them, you know, you can't make somebody, but you know what I mean? Like kind of making them pay right then and there on the phone or that day. They all ended up being clients that were very hard to work with, or worse, like I'll be the first to admit I have had my fair share of clients that don't finish paying or want a refund or get really scared and want to back out. And like, I don't have time for that. So it's transparent sales is really like, here's my program, here's what it includes, here's the price. We can get on the phone and make sure you're a good fit. And that's that. And it does mean that there has to be some shifts with your content and your confidence to actually attract people that are going to get on the phone with you knowing those things.
Okay, so tell us a bit more about that. What do you mean by like shifts in your content and confidence?
Yeah, so, you know, I feel like the reason it works for me is because of the confidence with it. Like a lot of people will tell me like, how can I use this method or be transparent with my sales if I'm already not even telling them the price and they're not getting on the phone? Or like, you know, I'm already using these strategies and they're not even working. Like nobody will even sign up with a deposit. How are they going to sign up without? And all these things. I think you have to really, there's a couple of things. It's like confidence with like, I have like very massive trust in the universe, to be honest. I think that's a big thing where it's like, I would, this is hard to say, and a lot of people don't want to admit this, but I would rather not have a client than have clients that, and this happens a lot, secretly regret signing on, you know, because, and we all have to take responsibility for ourselves, but I feel like what happens a lot is people sign the contract in fear and then they regret it during the program. So either then they freak out and back out or they don't do the work. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's confidence. Like I would rather not have clients than have clients like that. And trusting that there are plenty of people out there that can afford my rates, even at $20,000. So
how did you build up that confidence? Because I talk to so many coaches and they're like, where do I find these people? Like, how do I target people on Facebook that can afford this? Or like, you know, like how, like, where are these people? So what would you say to that coach?
I get asked that too. Like, what Facebook groups are they in? And they want to like have a Facebook group, coaches with money to invest. Like they wish that was a group. It's not.
That'd be hilarious. I'm literally imagining it now, like people looking for coaching that have money to invest, and it would just, yeah. That's hilarious.
People ready to invest $10,000. It doesn't exist. So that is the hard part. But they're like, I'm always telling people, they're in the same Facebook groups as the excuse makers, as the people, because some people just don't have the money or they're unwilling to get it or whatever, right? But they're in the same group, but they're not attracted. Like here's a content shift that I always have my clients make. They're making a lot of content that's like convincing people like why you should hire a coach, why you should invest in yourself, like those sorts of pieces of content.
Right.
Which is talking to who? People that kind of believe, I don't know if I really need a coach. I don't know if I really need to invest in myself. Instead of talking to people who are like, I'm so done with, like, I'm promoting my course, Transparent Sales, and I'm saying this is for you if you're so done with having clients that back out or having to do these sales methods that just don't feel good to you. Like, they're so done, they're ready to make a change. Like, that's that. You don't even have to talk about the investment. And the people that invest a lot, like 10,000, 20,000, whatever. I mean, even for sometimes it's like people that are going to invest $1,000 in a course, they're looking for somebody that is confident and that is like, I'm trying to think of the right word, but they're bold with their content. They're not afraid to share their opinion. They're not afraid to like be polarizing, right? Like push some people away or be really brutally honest. Or sometimes I think that gets mixed up with kind of being like, I don't know, are we allowed to cuss on here? But kind of being like bitchy or like a badass in their content. Like, you know what I mean? Like you don't have to do that. But anyway, I think that's a big shift is like, you really, really have to be confident with what you teach, which is, this just goes into so many other topics, right? But I talk a lot about that with my clients. if you were to not make another sale this month, would you feel less confident on the 31st than you feel right now? You know what I mean? Because if
Right.
yes, that means your confidence is lying within your sales or your ability to make sales, which your confidence should just be there because I know I'm good at what I do. And, you know, if people don't buy, maybe there's something to work with alignment, or maybe there's a strategy shift to make or whatever. But that doesn't mean that I think we've all been there. I've been there where it's like, am I even good at this? Like, what am I doing? Maybe I'm not good enough to be a coach. Like, you know, like it never actually
Right.
means that. So if that would affect your confidence, that's probably the starting point to look at.
Right. Okay, I love that. So I guess getting a bit more like tactical, like what do you
Yeah.
think are some good like lead generation strategies, sales strategies going into 2019? I know we talked a bit about Facebook groups and how they're filled with like people that are both excuse makers and like the serious kinds of people, but do you think
Yeah.
Facebook groups are still like a good strategy? If so, like what are
Yeah.
the ways to use them and kind of like other strategies that are working for you right now?
I do. And Facebook groups were like the first thing that I used, and that really, like, I didn't put a lot of money in ads really no money for a long time in ads, or it was like the number one thing I used. All my clients came from there. And even now I do spend not as much as people on Facebook ads, but I'll probably spend like $10,000 or $20,000 in a year on ads now. And even then, every single one of my private clients last year, besides maybe one, came to me via Facebook groups. Isn't that kind
Wow.
of crazy?
It's so crazy because then you hear people saying things like Facebook is dead, or especially a lot of like younger people, right? They're like, no, like Instagram is everything. And there's
Yeah.
always like, you know, how to sell on Instagram stories kind of things happening at the same time. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I was even at a point last year, I was like, I don't know if Facebook groups work. Like, I just do it because it's a habit now. But then when I started filling my one-on-one, of course, all those people came from my group, my email list. But when I was talking to them, they're like, oh, yeah, I found you in this group or that group. And I was like, that's crazy, because here I am kind of wondering if they even still work. And apparently they're one of my most profitable strategies. But I think the difference though is they are way more crowded than they were when I first started. The best things that you can do with any type of content, but especially like Facebook groups or even, in my opinion, Instagram and email and all the things, story, like very specific to you story with the nitty gritty details. You know, like I see a lot of people that will write a post like, how to make more sales. I want to share with you today this tip on how to make more sales, because not long ago I struggled to make sales and now sales are easy. And it's like, like podcasts are hard for me because I make faces and people can't see them.
Oh no, we're gonna do a video of this on YouTube too.
Oh, good. Oh, good. So people are going to see the face. So, but it's like, okay, huh? Like everybody could say that. I always say if somebody could copy and paste your post, and of course you would know, but if somebody could copy and paste your post, there'd be no proof it was yours, there's a problem,
Right.
right? So it's like adding the nitty gritty details. 6 months ago, I did this, and this action, and this was the result, nothing. Or one client that ended up dropping out a week later anyway. And like really just being so specific, because when you do that, first of all, way more emotion comes across and people feel it, and it's so much more relatable. But also it actually stands out. And that's how I always say, and this confuses people, like, say the things nobody else is saying. Write a post that's never been said. And people are like, how could I possibly do that? And it's literally, the answer is write your story out. And I think of, sometimes when I say story too, people think of like their big before and after, you know, like their huge transformation story.
Yeah,
But I mean,
like 10 years ago, I was
yeah,
here I am
and now I'm perfect. But I really mean like little moments in time, or little pieces. So sometimes I'll even take some time to reflect on like every single month. I'll go through like my Google Calendar because I've been using it for so long. And that brings up memories. Like you see that sales call with that person, or that time you launched that thing, and I'll think of all these things that happen, good and bad, and like just start writing posts on all of them, you know? That stands out so well. The other thing too, like if you can think of something that's like maybe opposing to what other people say in these groups, like if you scroll through and all you see is posts about how like business is so easy and magic and stuff, maybe write something a little bit different, right? Like, no, business is hard, and write your story about it being hard, or if that's aligned for you, like whatever. But I just think those are two big ways. I'm not somebody that's like, I don't, it's funny because then everything I share, I feel like is kind of polarizing and different than what people say, but I don't feel like that on purpose. I don't feel like I write a ton of like polarizing, everyone else is wrong in my opinion. And you know what I mean? But literally just writing what you actually believe is really huge.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be too specific or, you know, don't be afraid to brag or anything.
I love that. I love that. Awesome. So I guess to end off with, like, share with us a bit about how you schedule your time. Because I know we started off talking about how, you know, coaching was so
Yeah.
hectic. And a big thing I talk about too is like how to outsource things to free up your time and like different ways to manage it. So tell us a bit about kind of how you schedule your day, like what you kind of spend the most time on and what you outsource.
That's a big topic. Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing for me, and everybody's different. So it's like, think about this with your personality. But for me, I like to have like, I'm so far from perfect with this, but my perfect day, at least 2, if not 3 hours in the morning. My morning routine is like flow. So it's like just 3 hours where I know it's like nourishing myself, whatever that looks like that day. Some mindset stuff, obviously breakfast, most important meal of the day for me. Like sometimes just chill, like be able to sit, you know, and not have to jump right in. Cause I'm very guilty of that. And it's like the worst thing for someone like me to do is like wake up, jump into work, even though I'm good at it. Apparently I do it all the time, but that's like my ideal morning. But in terms of outsourcing and how my days look, I really challenge myself to pay attention to that and think about the things that I actually have to do. So like really, I only have to do coaching and content, but honestly, that can be challenged too. You know, I actually have an assistant now that writes and rewrites posts for groups for promotions. Like if I'm promoting a freebie or something like that, she can write that. There's so many times I've written about that she can kind of like piece it together, try something new. So now I actually have people on my team kind of writing some stuff for me. But my assistant actually does things like posting in the group. So every week she'll send me all my new content that I've personally written, because I just like post it, you know, easy. But she'll send that all to me and then I just approve it. Like, is this something I want to keep? Is it like good? Or is it, you know, sometimes you write stuff where it's like, that was just a one-time thing, or updating people in her life or whatever, like not keep. So then she has all this approved content. So every day in like a couple of groups, she like posts, she'll just cycle through it. And same thing with Instagram. She's managing pretty much my Instagram herself, where it's like, she'll take one of those posts and post it. And we basically just have this like never ending cycle of content. And that's really cool too, because sometimes if I'm like, I've so been slacking in my group, I can let her know and be like, can over the next couple of days, can you take some of like the best performing content and just put it in there? So helpful. And I think that is a huge tip, because that's the kind of thing that creates more space for like creativity. I never have to feel guilty if a few days go by and I just like didn't write a post, because I can just take something old because we're saving it. So, and then when I do create, it's truly coming from like inspiration and flow.
I love that. Yeah. What a great content strategy. Damn.
Yeah. You're welcome, guys.
This podcast is packed with value. I'm very excited about this. Awesome. So to close off, like tell us where we can find you, where we can learn more about you, connect with you.
Yeah. So the best way, two things. One, I think it would be epic for you guys to follow on Instagram at the Taylor Manning, because I put all my content there, like you heard, and my Instagram stories are bomb and happening basically every single day. And number 2, I would just go to my website, taylormanning.co, not com.co, and just check it out. Because on the homepage, there's a couple different free offers you could sign up for. So that would be the best way to get some like really good free content.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on here and sharing everything. I hope everyone got so much value out of this. And if you did, make sure to screenshot and tag us on Instagram. So at the Taylor Manning.
The Taylor Manning, yep.
And I'm over at Nika Moini or at Coaches Close Clients. So yeah, thank you everyone for listening.
Awesome. Thank you.